Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Kiba Jaya Jaya Gaurachande Arati Koshopa. Kiba Jaya Jaya Gaurachande Arati Koshopa. Janavi Tatavate Jagamana Lobha. Janavi Tatavate Jagamana Lobha. Gaurange Arati Shobha Jagajana Manalopa. Gaurange Arati Shobha Jagajana Manalopa. Gaurange Arati Shobha Jagajana Manalopa. Jagajana Manalopa. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Kibodaki Neni Tai Chan Bame Gadadara. Nikate Advaita Shriti Vasa Chhatradhara. Iba Boshi Yache Gauracha Nase Masane. Tikorene Brahma Adi Devegane Ibo Narahari Adi Kori Kamaradulaya Sanjaya Mukunda Bashu Goshadigaya Shankha baje, ghanta baje, madhu baje. Shankha baje, ghanta baje, madhu 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 baje. Shankha baje, ghanta baje, madhur 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 baje. Shankha baje, ghanta baje, madhur 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 baje. Hari bol, hari bol, hari bol, Nitai Gaur, hari bol. Nitai Gaur, hari bol, hari bol, hari bol, Nitai Gaur, hari bol. Kiva bahu koti chandrajini vadana ujvala koti chandrajini vadana ujvala gala deshe banamala kore chalamala Shiva Shiva Shuka Narada Preme Gadada Shiva Shiva Ashika Narada Preme Kadada Narada Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Gadadhar Srivasadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, pick it up, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshama. Krishna, 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 Rakshama. Krishna, 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 Pahima. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghav, Rama Raghav, Rama Raghav, Rakshama. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Sahiba. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Paima. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Nitai Gaura Haribol, Haribol, Nitai Gaura Haribol. Nitai Gaura Haribol, Haribol, Nitai Gaura Haribol. Haribol, 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 Haribol. Haribol, 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 Haribol. Haribol, 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 Haribol. Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Jayo, Jayo, Prabhupada, 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 Jayo, Jayo, Prabhupada. you know Narsingarti?
Namaste Narasingaya. Thank you. Hare Krishna. I think they were saying that you could move a little bit forward because we are a short, small group today. So we'll begin with the prayers. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braj Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braj Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. औमज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकयां चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरौ श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर भगवान जी की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय, श्री श्री गौरताय पंच तत्व की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Thank you all very much for joining us this evening. I know there are so many programs and the nice weather, and you still made it here, which is very nice. Thank you very much again. And Ram Navami still is continuing in our hearts. And we have been having so many wonderful discourses on Ramayana. At the same time, today I'll continue to speak a little bit on the same topic, because Ramayana is such a spiritual jewel that you see it from any angle and you try to understand it from any angle, there will be multitude of more angles that come forward. So I'm sure what you heard for last so many days from different sources about Sri Ramayana, there may be something more that we can churn this evening together. And that's my humble effort today. It's not very organized. It's going to be more from my heart to your heart kind of thing. So, you can jump in, you can join, because it's a smaller group today and we can have more interaction. You can share your reflections if you come across anything relating to the topic or anything else that, appeals to your heart, you feel like sharing, please do that. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada is the one who explained to us the importance of Sri Ramayana, and he's our teacher in the first place. So as Vaishnavas, we look at Sri Ramayana from Srimad Bhagavatam point of view. So in Srimad Bhagavatam is the dialogue between Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. We all know, most of us know about Srimad Bhagavatam's platform of discussion that happened about 5,000 years ago with Parikshit Maharaj asking question to Shukadev Goswami as to what was his duty when he knew that he was going to die in 7 days. And there were so many different kinds of topics that were discussed. And Shukadev Goswami, when coming to the 9th canto, he began describing the Ragu Dynasty, and then he came upon the pastime of Lord Ramachandra. And he said to Parikshit Maharaj that you already know, you have heard Ramayana so many times. So I'm not going to go into the details. I will tell you only briefly some of the points. So that's how their discussion begins in the 9th canto. And from there, we can understand that even 5,000 years ago, Ramayana was very commonly recited and commonly memorized by people in general, and also by the saintly kings. It was recited and remembered by Parikshit Maharaj himself. So that is the glory of Ramayana, that it is a very as eternal as our human history. So in that dialogue, I'm particularly going to refer to the 9th canto and the 10th chapter. Shukadev Goswami mentions the beginning of the Ragu dynasty, and this King Ragu, who is great-grandfather of Ramachandra, because after King Ragu is the King Aja, and then from Aja is King Dashratha. And then we have these 4 incarnations of Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, into 4 brothers, as we all know, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. And there is a verse, the very second verse in the 10th chapter. It says that being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth himself, directly appeared with his expansion and expansions of expansion. And their holy names were Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrugna. And these celebrated incarnations thus appeared in 4 forms as the sons of Maharaj Dashrath. So from the point of view of incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in these 4 forms as 4 brothers, these incarnations Srila Prabhupada refers to in the purport as Vishnu Tattva. In that purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Lord Ramachandra and his brothers are all Vishnu Tattva. And the expansions, these 4 expansions, they are one and the same, even though they are in 4 different forms. And all these forms exist permanently, eternally, as individual personalities of Godhead. And these 4 brothers, or Vishnu Tattva, are all equally powerful. And they became the sons of Maharaj Dashrath in response to prayers by the demigods. So we can understand from this that the 4 incarnations, the 4 forms of the brothers are Vishnu Tattva, and they're equally powerful. And the analogy that's given is that the candle, they resemble many candles, all equally powerful. So it's interesting to note that. And in particular, Lord Ramachandra's appearance and his pastimes are definitely divine, and Valmiki Ramayana especially emphasizes not only on the divinity aspect of Lord Ramachandra, but also on more on the humanity aspect of Lord Ramachandra, his humanness, his being the ideal character of a human being. That point is more emphasized in Valmiki Ramayana. And for people like us trying to study Ramayana, also this point is very relevant as to how Lord Ramachandra was a human being in the first place. Even though he was a divine personality of Godhead himself, but his humanness and the humanness in his pastimes, they were not necessarily making a hurdle in his divinity. His divinity was there separately, but there is an aspect to see more of his humanity or human-like nature and his ideal character as a human being. And when we say humanness, we all know that we are all humans, and what matters to us the most is our relationship with others in the world, others in our community, in our world, because that makes us human beings. Because of the relationships, we have a opportunity to respond to that relationship, and everything becomes meaningful depending upon how we respond to the relationships among the people. And that point was definitely emphasized by Lord Sri Ramachandra while he was playing the role of an ideal human being. And as we can see in Ramayana, there are so many different aspects of relationships, right? So his relationship with his father, beginning with his relationship with his father, his relationship with his brothers, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrugna, his relationship with his wife in all his journey from the forest coming back to Ayodhya. And during the forest, his relationship with the monkey king, Sugriva, and his relationship with Lord Hanuman. We all know the devotional relationship between the two. And later on, he displayed his relationship even with Vibhishan, who is a party from the enemy's side. And all these relationships, I mean, they are discussed always, whenever we have Ramayana discourses, there are so many aspects of these relationships that come up. and they're discussed and we learn so many lessons. But there's one particular relationship in Ramayana which attracts my heart most of the times. And that is the relationship of Lord Ramachandra with the monkeys, with the monkey soldiers. And I wanted to reflect a little bit on that relationship today. So if we see, there's a huge army of monkeys, and it is explained that they were all devatas from the higher planetary systems who appeared through the wombs of the monkeys in order to assist the Lord in his divine pastime. So they were all divine personalities, even though they were not acting as such. They were not necessarily remembering that, oh, I'm a very big devata from the higher planets and I'm come here in this form. They didn't carry that mood. All they knew was they were monkeys, and they're a huge, big community of monkeys. So if you see the pastime of Yuddha, the war with Ravan, these monkeys were sacrificing their lives for the sake of Lord Ramachandra's mission. And we can imagine sometimes, being a part of that whole army of monkeys. Some of the monkeys might be too young to understand who Lord Ramachandra was. And Lord Ramachandra joined them for a very short time. It was not that they were aware of this particular king for a long, long time. It wasn't like that. Now, some of the monkeys might have been born right at that time, and then they joined the army. Some of the monkeys, they appeared as the devatas appeared as monkeys. But in any case, their relationship with Lord Ramachandra was not that very deep in terms of duration or in terms of intimacy. And yet, you can see how they were all ready to sacrifice their lives, and not only ready, but they honestly fought and sacrificed their lives. They got wounded, they might have been killed. But at the same time, what was their inspiration that was so strong, and what was their relationship behind this inspiration can be a matter of interest for all of us to discuss. And Srimad Bhagavatam, as I said, Shukadev Goswami, he reflects on some of these points while he is discussing with Parikshit Maharaj. And in about this particular couple of verses, and you will see how these monkeys, who were not necessarily trained as warriors, they were not trained as Kshatriya warriors for sure. They didn't have very advanced weapons. They were not organized in terms of warfare. And at the same time, they were able to win over a very powerful army of Ravan, where the soldiers of Ravana's soldiers were, first of all, they were born as demons. They had that passionate nature. They had the strength of a warrior. They were having all very advanced weapons, as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Some of these weapons are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, and they were very organized in their army skills. At the same time, they were defeated by these monkey warriors. And what was the reason? What was the reason why the monkeys were able to overpower them? And that is described in some of these verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I will read some of them. The only thing is, it says that after entering Lanka, the monkey soldiers, led by chiefs like Sugriva and Hanuman and Nila, they occupied all the sporting houses, which means all the recreational properties of Lanka. They occupied all granaries, which means where the grains were stored, treasuries, money, then palace doorways, city gates, assembly houses, palace frontages, and even the resting houses of the birds. So when the city's crossroads, platforms, flags, and golden water pots on their domes were all destroyed, the entire city of Lanka appeared like a river disturbed by a herd of elephants. So you can imagine these monkeys they made such a havoc in the city, which was very opulent and very well organized, well managed, having huge structures, and they were able to conquer and destroy it. And then later on, after a couple of verses, it's mentioned that so Lord Ramachandra attacked the soldiers of these Rakshasas who were fully equipped with various invincible weapons. And these weapons are swords, lances. Lances mean they're very long wooden weapons with metallic sharp portions in the front. Then bows and Shakti arrows, which means the arrows which carry some particular potencies. Khadgas, which is even more dangerous swords, and tomaras, which is, I don't even know what that means. So in one sense, these are the different kinds of weapons which were held by these Rakshasas. And Lord Ramachandra was able to conquer with the help of the monkeys, all of these. And it's in the purport, it's mentioned that the soldiers of Lord Ramachandra recruited in the jungle were all monkeys and did not have proper equipment with which to fight the soldiers of Ravan. For Ravana's soldiers were equipped with weapons of modern warfare, whereas the monkeys could only throw stones, mountain peaks, and trees. It was only Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman who shot some arrows. But because the soldiers of Ravan were condemned by the curse of Mother Sita, the monkeys were able to kill them simply by throwing stones and trees. And Srila Prabhupada mentions further that there are two kinds of strength. One strength is called Daiva, and the other strength is called Purushakara. So Daiva refers to the strength achieved from the transcendence. That means the strength which is provided by the Supreme Divine. And Purushakara strength refers to the strength organized by one's own intelligence and power. Transcendental power is always superior to the power of the materialist. And depending on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one must fight one's enemies even though one may not be equipped with modern weapons. Therefore, Krishna instructed Arjuna, Mam Anusmaradhyacha, think of me and fight. We should fight our enemy to the best of our ability, but for victory, we must depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the purport Srila Prabhupada mentions. So the first strength, which is acquired by our divine connection with the Supreme Divine, and the other one, it is described that organized by our own intelligence and power. And we can all relate to this. In today's world, there are so many powerhouses, people have different kinds of powers. Even information had so much of power. And we see in the world scenario that one country is trying to overpower another country with the help of the same exact Purushakara strength, organized effort based upon one's own collected strength and intelligence, right? And the point here that particular verse brings is that, yes, we may have the power and the strength necessary to survive in this world and even to become superior in this world, but that power has to be supplemented by the mercy of the Lord. And with that combination, if we fight, then that's the best thing. And fight means what? We are not going to fight with anybody as such in the real sense, but there are so many enemies still we have. We may not be soldiers, but we definitely have many, many enemies. The enemies starting with our own mind. And then there are external other enemies in different forms. And we have to fight. This life is all about fighting. for the right cause and to make us survive in this world. So the suggestion here, based upon what the monkeys were able to do, is that they were supported by the divine mercy of Lord Ramachandra. And that's how, even throwing the peaks of the mountains and trees and stones, they were able to not only build the bridge also, and also further destroy the very powerful city of King Ravan. So in the next verse also, there is a mention that I think it's in the next one. Yeah, okay, so that's the point. And you can see, as a, just the point that we saw, that how Lord Ramachandra's divine mercy supported the monkeys in spite of their odds. They were having definitely so many odds. First of all, they were going into another foreign land which they never had gone, and definitely the soldiers of Ravana were definitely very comfortable being in their own palace and in their own kingdom. And as we saw, the organization and the weapons were not available to them, and still they were able to conquer. Now, another aspect of the relationship of monkeys with Lord Ramachandra was Lord Ramachandra's personal interaction with them, with his own soldiers. And in contrast, we can also see Ravana's interaction with his own soldiers. And then we can learn from that a lot about relationship. So it's mentioned that Ravan was, of course, his kingdom was extremely opulent, and all the soldiers who were demons, they were very comfortably provided all the necessities of life by Ravan. Not only that, but they were provided wealth by Ravan, and there were all facilities for enjoyment for them. So that was the nature of the soldiers. And Ravan himself was a very well-organized king. He was well-established in his kingdom. And the relationships, if you can see, they were all material relationships of the soldiers with their king. Ravan did not have any particular interest going around and making particular relationships with his soldiers. And that is proved later on also, when the soldiers were being killed in Ravana's army. So basically, Ravan did not have anything on a humanitarian ground to connect with his soldiers. As compared to that, Lord Ramachandra, if you see, he didn't have anything. First of all, money-wise, he didn't have wealth, because he came to the jungle without any wealth. So he didn't have anything to offer to the monkeys as soldiers, as what Ravana offered to his old soldiers. He offered nothing to his monkeys, and he was new to them. It's mentioned in the Ramayana that the monkeys did not know Lord Ramachandra since beginning, and they were themselves very disorganized. So what to speak of knowing Lord Ramachandra for a long time? They did not know in the beginning who he was, and then gradually they understood him and they developed a very loving devotion with him. So they were devoted to Lord Ramachandra only because of who Lord Ramachandra was. He was a ideal human being, and he knew how to relate with them. And that was the basis of their devotion to him. That was the basis of their readiness to sacrifice their lives for Lord Ramachandra. So that was the basis. And it's mentioned that when the war was on with Ravan, many soldiers from both the sides were hurt, were killed. Now, it's mentioned that at the end of the day, Ravan, what he used to do is to order his soldiers that whosoever has died from my side, throw their bodies into the ocean, because they're dead, and throw them down in the ocean to a very deep level, so that their bodies don't come up. Because the other party, the other party of my enemies, I don't want them to see my soldiers dying and getting thrown in the water. because they will probably feel strength. So I don't want them to know that my soldiers are dying, and I don't care about it. Throw them in the water. That's the treatment he gave to his soldiers. And he himself lived in the palace. And as you can see later on also, as he fought, he never came to the ground with his soldiers, shoulder to shoulder fighting. He was in his airplane and he fought from the air. So there was no question of his getting shoulder to shoulder with his own soldiers. And as compared to that, if you see, Lord Ramachandra, what he used to do at the end of the day, and actually we'll just read something from here because that way you will understand more better. So Lord Ramachandra brings out the contrast. No, sorry, the Ramayana brings out the contrast between Ram and Ravan graphically by describing what they did during the war at the end of each day's battle. So each night, Ravan would tell his surviving soldiers that throw the corpses of slain soldiers into the ocean. And I think I told you this part. But in contrast, Ramachandra, after each day's battle, stayed awake late into the night, performing the last rites of his dead soldiers. Whereas Ravan was always above his army in his majestic chariot and his magnificent palace, Ram was always with his army, living with them, eating with them, sleeping with them, fighting with them, and grieving and praying with them on the loss of their loved ones. He cared. He cared for his soldiers. And during the war, every day, Ram's army saw how a great warrior he was, how he routed so many groups of demons, and he wreaked havoc in their ranks. But every night they saw how great a person he was, who was grieving with them, with their sorrows, and no wonder monkeys were ready to lay down their lives for him. So that was the interesting part, that Lord Ramachandra, how he treated his warriors with love and care and affection. And that is the basis of their relationship, and that's the basis of their readiness to sacrifice their lives. And even when the war was finished, and he had the Lord Ramachandra had the Pushpak Viman, Pushpak airplane, a divine airplane to fly back to his Ayodhya, he took the monkey soldiers with him aboard the plane. And when they were flying, that particular area where the monkeys came from, Kishikinda, when they were flying above it, he landed, he descended his airplane. Why? Because he told his monkey soldiers to get all their wives and children on the board. And he took all of them back to Ayodhya. So this is the nature of Lord Ramachandra's caring and loving relationship. He didn't have to do that, but that was not his culture. That was not the pastime that he wanted to show. He wanted to show how to relate and care for people. So for us, there's a lot we can learn from this particular relationship of the monkeys with Lord Ramachandra. First of all, we need to care for those who are serving us and helping us. And on different levels, in our families, as we grow up, our parents, our loved ones who have cared for us, who have sacrificed for our education. That's one aspect where we remember them and we care for them. And we care for them even after we are well settled in our lives. And we don't need them anymore. We don't need their help anymore. Even then, how we can care for them, how we can remember them. And the other aspect is that in the temple, when we join our devotional lifestyle, there's so many devotees around us who help us so much in our devotional progress. It's always a joint venture. It's always a community project. We do not progress alone in bhakti. We go together and we are supported by each other. And so for them also, we can always remember about our relationship with them, how we treat them, how we respond to them, how we help them in their difficult times. So that's the share and care culture that Lord Ramachandra is teaching us. And it's in contrast to the throwaway culture of today's world. Now we see this throwaway culture in different levels. Not only we throw the objects, that's of course creates the environmental problem, and we may not see the impact right away because we say, oh, maybe after 100 years, there'll be environmental problem, but I won't be there by that time, so I can throw things. That's the kind of sometimes we think about. But then throwaway relationships, and that's very commonly seen in this world today, and those impacts can come much, much faster and quicker as compared to the environmental impacts, because the relationships are broken and the impacts and the consequences are born right in a few years. So you see, share and care culture that Lord Ramachandra taught is the spiritual culture, and the one that we see here is the material culture, right? So how do we learn something from this in our bhakti culture? So our culture of bhakti is the culture of service and devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the example of the monkeys, of their relationship with Lord Ramachandra, what they did. Now we saw what Lord Ramachandra did as love and care for these monkeys, but then from their perspective, what did they do? What kind of culture they did is that their devotional relationship with the Lord and their desire to serve the Lord. So for us, also we can learn that we need to have a devotional relationship with the Lord in this bhakti path, or we can learn about it if we are new. And what's the need? What's the relevance of it? What's the benefit of it? We can learn from this one small example of the monkeys with Lord Ramachandra, because even at the end, when I said that maybe some monkeys got injured, some monkeys died, they had to die. But when where is that aspect? There is a section when Lord Ramachandra later on, when the war was finished, the Devatas, they came to bless him, and because he was the ideal human being, he was playing that role as an ideal human being, he didn't depict himself as God, and he still sought the blessings from the Devatas as an example. And when the Devatas asked him blessings, he asked the blessings for all the monkey soldiers that were dead or they were injured. He sought blessings for them, that they may be revived and they may be repaired and they may be brought back to life. So you see, in the devotional relationship with the Lord, the monkeys not only were selflessly serving and they were cared when they were alive, but they also got the benedictions from the Lord. And these benedictions were eternal benedictions. They were not necessarily just brought to life for that few years, but they of course were delivered. They were given salvation by the Lord because they fought for the Lord in that relationship. So the point is that we learn the importance of personal devotional relationship with the Lord and see the benefits. The benefits are that when we are fighting our wars, our particular wars, our personal wars in our family, in our personal level, in our lives, if we keep the Lord with us, and if we keep the Lord in the center of our lives and move our lives around him, then just like the monkeys, we will be empowered to do the right things. We'll be empowered to not only survive, but to make our lives meaningful and happy as well, in spite of all the problems that we might be going through. And then not only this relationship, but what we can learn from another lesson from this example is that how can we desire to serve the Lord? It's said that monkeys, they were not qualified in terms of war. They were not particularly trained. They were not provided weaponry. All they had was the desire to fight. And then they were empowered by the Lord to do the needful. So similarly, we may not be ready for a lot of things to take up immediately in our devotional service. But what we all have to do, as recommended by our acharyas, is that we need to desire the night to serve the Lord. I need to be in my loving devotional service with the Lord as selflessly as I can. And the Lord will provide us all the necessary qualifications just because of the desire. He will empower us. He will give us the right opportunities to learn, to get experience, and to further develop our taste, interest, and capabilities in our services. That happened to the monkeys, and the same thing can happen to us. And just see, Lord Ramachandra engaged all of them without any qualification. He did not make a distinction that these are powerful monkeys, these are less powerful, I don't want them, nothing of that type. He engaged everybody equally. So the service is open to all. The Lord's service is open to all, and he empowers us, even though we may not be equal in some sense with other people in terms of experience or any other capabilities. But the Lord will make necessary adjustments to help us grow in our understanding, in our selflessness, in our relationship with him, in our reciprocation with him. And even though we may be unqualified, we will never be disqualified from service. And that also was the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, no matter if it's Brahman or a Shudra or a sannyasi or any particular category from the Varnashrama, everybody is open to devotional service. Everybody is open to do Lord's bhakti. And that was his mood, and that was his mission. And that's how we also practice here, the same thing. So we can really get so much inspired by looking at these monkeys, not carrying any qualifications, just carrying the desire to serve the Lord and willingness to have a relationship, devotional, selfless devotional relationship with the Lord. And they were delivered. They were really liberated, and they were benefited in that way. So we can also do the same way. We can take this inspiration and look around, just like this is the community. We have so many examples to learn from each other and to get inspired and get to find our own particular way that we like. And it's not necessarily a very open service. Sometimes people like to be a little bit low in profile. They don't want to make a show, or they're not comfortable, going for very public service. For them also, there are so many different aspects. And I was just discussing with a couple of my friends, and they said that when they come to the temple, sometimes they don't feel connected because it's overwhelming for them. Sometimes, the crowd, or sometimes the discussions people have, like, okay, we need to be talking to each other. That could be overwhelming for them. You never know. Everybody's different in different ways. And sometimes they are not that much into the devotional service. So they feel, oh, I'm not even chanting extra, I'm not chanting enough rounds. I don't know how to do deity worship. I'm not initiated. So many aspects that can make them nervous. And they may say, I don't want to. But for them, there could be some service which is more personal, which is more quiet. And we all know chanting is one of that kind of service. And there are, even within the temple, there could be so many similar type of services. Sometimes the Matajis, they're doing the garlands. They're so quiet in that corner. Nobody knows about them. And how all these garlands are made throughout the week. So many numbers. We do not know. They probably stand there for 4 hours, 5 hours, taking time from their daily activities. and they quietly make the garlands, put them in the boxes, and we just see the garlands on the deities. So some of these services, there's so many other types of services that if we feel overwhelmed, you don't have to be publicly doing them. You can do them on your own and with your own particular interest. Not everybody will have interest in X service or Y service. There may be another service which they are interested in, and they can do it, provided we all have the desire. And then the Lord will show us the path, the Lord will empower us, the Lord will give us necessary qualifications, and we will be able to enjoy and also make a very meaningful service to the Lord. So that's why our Acharya has mentioned this wonderful recommendation. And I like this everybody likes, and Srila Prabhupada used to quote this many times. Krishna, and it's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati, Kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate, tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam, janmo koti sukrutir na labhyate. What it means is that devotional service in Krishna consciousness may not happen by thousands of lifetimes of sukruti, piety, collection of piety. Even if people are very pious, they are doing all good things, it is not necessary that they will get a taste in the devotional service of Krishna consciousness. There's only one reason or one cause that a person can get attracted to devotional service, and that cause is the intense greed to obtain it. Intense greed means your extreme desire to be in devotional service. That, my Lord, I like this, I want to do this. Your greed, your extreme intention is enough qualification to get devotional service. And it recommends that if it's available anywhere, we should just purchase it without delay. What it means is that any opportunity that you see, we should immediately make use of that opportunity to serve the Lord. And sometimes the opportunities will come and you might feel a little burden. You don't know whether your family will be adjusted or whether you'll find enough time, or you might lose some of your hours, personal hours. But every time you think about this, tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam, and kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate. Anytime you see this, you grab it. Grab the opportunity for service, because you never know what's the Lord's plan for you in that. And you will be surprised many times. Just taking up immediate first opportunity for service can open many times, many doors to you, because you very honestly accepted the opportunity which is sent to you by the Lord. And that personally also we have experienced many times, like something comes and we don't know, we are very much intimidated, but we think that if it's sent by the Lord, then there must be a plan and I'll just accept it. And when we do that, we are rewarded with more meaningful and joyful devotional service. So I hope it made some sense to you. I hope it connected with our own lives in some way, this discussion of this example of Lord Ramachandra's relationship with monkeys. And yeah, as I said before, it's I think we have a few more minutes. So please share your reflection, share your thoughts, or any comments or any questions, which I'll try to attend. Hare Krishna. Sure. Mm-hmm.
How can we get this? It's not like a sweet one and one. So,
yeah.
What do you suggest?
So I can give my example, because that's the easiest one, because rather than making up a theory, right? So when we grow up, not just age-wise, but in our experiences, that's what happened with me. Again, I'll tell my example, that when I grew up in my experiences, I could understand that something was missing, because happiness was not necessarily related to our material achievements. Okay, my education, my maybe career, my family, they give us happiness, but not necessarily completely satisfying and long-going happiness. And all of us can experience that. So my point is that when I analyze my own life, so that much we can do. We can be very wise and very, what do you call, you are very alert about what's going on in your life. And when we are alert and wise in that way, we realize that something is there. And then when we come across the devotees, Shradha Sham Sundar ki jai, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Gaur Nitai Panchatattva ki jai. So my point is that when we have this feeling, and when we come across, say, our devotional scripture like Bhagavad Gita as it is, or any of Srila Prabhupada's books, when we come across people who are following Krishna consciousness, and then I compared my own situation with their situation, and then I realized what made them more happier in their lives and what was missing in my life, then it was very easy for me to desire to become like them in terms of accepting devotional service. So it's just our analysis, and that's how we are human beings, intelligent human beings. If we cannot make that analysis, then our lives will go on. Like, okay, people say, okay, distress comes, but then people could assign 100 reasons for that distress. They could blame other people, they could blame their own destiny and cry. But unless we make a question as to what's going on, that is the beginning point. So when we become inquisitive about the distresses in their lives, when we become inquisitive about why good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people, so these existential questions, when we start having, that is the point we can get attracted to devotional side, and we can also look at the other people's examples. And in ISKCON, not only just the congregation devotees, but we have a worldwide network of men and women who have transformed their lives. And when I saw that personally, again, my example, when I saw that through BTG, Back to Godhead magazine, which publishes stories of people from across the world, and when I see them, how they came in Krishna consciousness, how they changed their lives, where they stand today, that changed my complete perspective. I want to be like them. I want to learn what they learn. And that's how we cultivate our desire. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. My question is, in the Ramayana, there were Vanaras. Were they just real, like, regular monkeys or some special kind of species? Because they had like kingdom, they had like, they had all regular structure which human kings do have. Right? Mm-hmm. So were they just regular monkeys or some special?
No, see, even you see 8.4 million species of life, right? There are 400 types of human beings. Now you may say, I see all same people all over the world, this one. So it's not like that. Even within human species, even within this earth, there are hundreds of different types of people, different types of consciousness. So my point is that just monkey means not necessarily just the monkey that we see in the zoo. There could be so many different species of monkeys. And the time is 1 million years ago. So you can see even 5,000 years ago, when in Mahabharata, the nature of the characteristic of human beings was very different. Like they were taller, they were stronger, they were very different from us. We are like miniature form as compared to them. So if 5,000 years ago, if that was the case, 1 million years ago, we can imagine what kind of different kinds of species of monkeys could have existed there. So they're definitely not ordinary monkeys that we know in the zoo or maybe in the movies or something. They were definitely, first of all, they were special divine entities coming from Svargaloka. So they definitely were very, very special in terms of their capabilities. And we cannot, sometimes it's not conceivable how the monkeys could have talked to each other, how could have talked to Ramachandra, how they would have fought, how they would have picked up the mountains. And you can see from the description, if they were picking up the peaks of mountains to throw, if they're picking up the trees, they're definitely different than the ordinary monkeys. How we cannot even imagine moving a mountain. They were picking up the mountain and throwing. So definitely divine species. Man, so time is up. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Shri Ramachandra Bhagwan ki jai. Sita Ram Chandra Hanuman Lakshman Bhagwan ji ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let's thank our Grace Govindanandani Mataji with a loud Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Thank you very much for coming to this wonderful Sunday Feast program today. Is anybody coming here for the first time? Haribo, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. We'll get some small token gift from Krishna Prabhu. They are also coming for the first time. Here in the front. Yeah. So we'd like to welcome you all, but especially those coming here for the first time with a loud Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Please come again and again. Hare Krishna. Few announcement. Okay. May 3rd, Tuesday is Akshay Tritiya, very special day. We have different murats in a day and we check for auspicious times. But on Akshay Tritiya day, the whole day is auspicious. So many special events happen on Akshay Tritiya day. Lord Nrsimha Dev in Jihad Nrsimha in Visakhapatnam, Simhachalam, you get darshan only on Akshay Tritiya day, right? And so that's very special. So His Holiness Mahapad Maharaj is going to be here next Sunday. So he will be giving the last year also some initiations in the, just before the program. And I believe he's also going to be here on Akshay Tritiya day, so we might have program here. We'll keep you posted. Okay, today's feast, there's no sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor Sunday feast as Vaishnav Seva, you can contact Krishna Namananda Prabhu and he can give you more details. All right, that being said, there's no further announcement. Thank you very much. Now we'll have Krishna Prasad on the other side. Out here, the Shayanarti will be at 8:35, 8:40. So you can come back taking Prasad and then take the darshan of the Lord in Shayan dressing. Hare Krishna.